Hey, everybody, this is Edgar Winter, and you're listening to Icon.
Icon is presented by AM/FM Magazine. Find them online at amfm-magazine.com. Released in 1983, it was the 11th studio album from Yes. The album contained numerous charting hits, including the number one hit, Owner of a Lonely Heart. It was the first album to take Yes to the Grammys with the song Cinema. Today on Icon, we welcome iconic drummer Alan White.
They are instantly recognizable. The music and albums that have shaped popular culture in our generation. Join us as we explore the stories behind those albums with those who were there. You've found Icon. And now your hosts, music industry professionals Roman Guzman and Paul Doty.
I'm not hearing any auto-tune, Roman.
Not either, Paul. I'm not either.
Okay, well, once again, this is Paul Doty, CEO of West Coast Sound and Light. My name is Roman Guzman. I do the morning show at a rock station here in Modesto. Icon is the name of the show, so we take iconic albums. We try to get, maybe stories sort of behind the stories, maybe stuff that hasn't been told so far or from a point of view that we're not familiar with. And of course, 90125, not only celebrating its 30th anniversary, but very iconic. So I figured that'd be the one we tackle today.
Okay, no problem.
And our guest today, Yes drummer, Alan White. Hey, Alan, how you doing this morning?
I am fine. How are you?
We're very good. And you are coming from?
I am actually in Seattle, Washington right now. That's where I live.
Oh, cool. Very cool.
Excellent. Well, Alan, thanks for joining us. 90125, which is, when you think about iconic albums, that's one that's definitely going to be on the top of the list. And it's been a pretty well documented history on the album and how it came about, especially from John and Trevor's point of view. But there hasn't been, I don't think we've heard a lot about, from your perspective, how the thing sort of got started. So, if you don't mind, let's go back to pre-83.
Pre-83, okay.
Yeah, we'll start there.
Okay, well, the initial framework of the album was worked on by Tony Kaye, Chris Squire, Trevor Rabin, and myself. Initially, that band was called Cinema. One of the iconic tracks on there is an instrumental track called Cinema that was kind of the birthstone of that whole album. but it was a long process. We actually wrote and kind of worked that material out for about 9 months before it was ever thought of calling it, and the band was going to be called Cinema at that time. Then we just started into it, and it was really everybody in the whole was contributing music, and most of the music was actually coming from Trevor at the time, but Chris and myself stepped in and did a lot of work on different songs, and you ended up with some tracks like Shoot High, Aim Low. That kind of song all came out of just us turning up one morning. I had an idea and talked to Trevor, and then that became another great track on the album. But we spent about 9 months running through a lot of that material. And there were, people's ears around town were picking up that, yes, we're now called Cinema with Chris Squire and Alan White, and actually the initial band was Chris Squire, Alan White, and then we got a meeting with Trevor Rabin. I remember we had Chinese food down in Shepherd's Bush, London. That's how we met. We already knew Trevor because we got a single played by him about 6 months before that by Brian Lane, who was manager of the band around that time. Anyhow, that's the whole that was the spark to the whole thing. We worked for 9 months on the whole thing, and then as we were developing the tracks, the people at Atlantic Records and that Atco got kind of involved, and they liked some of the tracks that were going on. And then John Anderson heard a couple of the tracks through other people and decided he really liked them. And then he said, "Can I sing on a couple of them?" And we thought, well, why not? And that's when Trevor Horn got involved. And the next thing you know, we were in Psalm Studios in London putting the backing tracks down for 90125.
Now, it seems like, especially at that time, we're talking about early 80s, the previous full album to that was, of course, Drama. There was the single in between, Run With the Fox, that you and Chris did.
Yeah.
And Drama, and even the single, seemed like sort of a natural progression of the band, moving in a direction.
What you mean with Run With the Fox?
Yeah, I mean, that kind of even fit in.
That was a great record, and it never was released in America. We should have released it over here.
Yeah, I think it wasn't until the box set came out.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. But I loved making that album. It was just Chris and myself in the studio, and we got somebody to do an orchestral arrangement, and we came up with Run With the Fox. It was great stuff. I
actually played that track on the air last week.
You did?
Yep, I played it during my show in the morning when I played a lot of Christmas music.
Well, that's perfect for Christmas, yeah.
Yeah. But if I'm playing Christmas music, I'm going to play the stuff I like. So I threw in Run With the Fox.
Okay, cool.
When you were putting together, when the songs were coming together for 90125, was there a point when, did you feel like this feels natural from where the band should be going, or is this like completely different and you weren't sure how the fans were going to take it?
No, it just felt good from the word go. Trevor is such a talented guy. I mean, it was obvious when he joined Chris and myself, there was a spark there of some kind, and we all played so well together that we had something, and we all knew it. And then and Chris said, "Why don't I call Tony Kaye? We need keyboards." And in came Tony Kaye, and we just took it from there. Mind you, it was kind of like one of those things where things just kept happening, which felt good. And you could feel the order around the whole thing, that there's something big was going to come out of this while we were doing it,
I can feel no sense of measure, no illusions as we take.
One down, one to go, another town, one more show. One down, one to go, another town, one more show.
It's like quite a few other things I've done in my life. records like with John Lennon and stuff like that. You just know in the studio that's going to be a huge record.
Did you know to the point where you were thinking Grammy?
No, not at all. That was kind of surprised, but very strange with being such a harmony-based kind of like, well, I guess Yes has got a bit of everything. The technical kind of progressive rhythm section type stuff, and with lots of good tunes, with lots of harmonies, but then we get a vocal band that gets a Grammy for an instrumental, so which is kind of iconic, really.
Of all the Yes albums, when you think back of the catalog, obviously this particular album, I think it's generally accepted as the most commercial, or at least it had the most commercial success. How does it rate with you in your heart of all of the Yes albums? You know, you had said that it felt really special while you were doing it. How do you rate it in with all of the others?
It's very close, if not at the top of the list of some of the best songs we ever played on stage.
You can fool yourself. You can cheat until you're blind. You can cut your heart. It can happen to me. It can happen to everyone eventually.
It's not Steve's style to play that kind of music, and he doesn't really like, well, I'm not saying that. He kind of likes the music, but he didn't play in it, so he doesn't feel comfortable doing it. So, but at the same time, I christened myself, and you know, we love that music. I mean, songs like "Hold On" and songs of that nature, just absolutely fantastic to play on stage. We had enormous success playing those songs on stage once we got rolling.
You know, Yes had always had success. You'd always had the building fan base, and then all of a sudden 90125 comes out, and I'm no longer the only one in my class who knows who Yes is. It exploded.
Yeah, well, there was that to it. It did give us a wider variety of listeners. We got a lot of radio play on different types of radio stations, you know, even, you know, AM classic stations and stuff like that. So you reach a lot more ears with music that's so radio listenable, as it were. And, yeah, it was good for us in a way, but we didn't go over the top and make it too glitzy. And we just, you know, still kept the Yes vibe to it, even though it was, I hate using the word pop, but it wasn't really pop, but it was more mainstream kind of stuff that we were doing at that time, yeah.
Yeah, 83, that was the year I was married, and up to that point,
Why?
I was a Yes fan. I mean, there was Yes albums that had come out that I had in my collection. I liked Yes, but it wasn't one of my major, you know, hot rotation bands. And when 90125 came out, it just changed. It was a game changer album. That album, Big Generator, all of those that have a more poppy feel to it. I'm one of those fans that love that Yes. I mean, I love all of Yes, and I'm kind of adopted into the Yes family on one of those weird offshoots now, so I'm kind of tied into the thing.
You would find that those albums, because they were more mainstream kind of radio playable things, it opened up the rest of Yes's catalog to a lot more ears. So
exactly,
that's exactly what happened. And it wasn't planned in any way. It's just that's what was happening at the time.
Yeah, you get a couple albums that you like. Now you're going back through the catalog and you're digging deeper into this treasure trove of music that's out there. And yeah, very cool.
There's a lot of notes. And they're all in my head. There's not very many people in the world who could put them together in a heartbeat, but, you know, pretty much everybody in Yes, certainly Chris and myself, could play any of those songs at a drop of a hat. We love that because some of the licks are so iconic, as you say, that they stick forever. And once you start playing it, it's like riding a bicycle, but sounds complicated to a lot of other people.
Did you feel, after it came out with the success of the album, did you feel pressure to continue that from labels, or was it more still, yeah, we're still going to do what we want?
No, yes, just felt like they, you know, and we've always had that very stubborn attitude of just doing what we want. But, you know, there is a theme in some of the other albums that followed that has touches of both things, really. I mean, The Ladder's got some very poppy-type songs on it. And I thought, actually, one of the most underrated albums that Yes did was Talk. There's some brilliant music on that. I mean, the song Endless Dream, that was mostly constructed by Trevor and in his studio, but that's one of my favorite songs of all time in Yes to play.
It's funny you say that. When I interviewed John not too long ago, and I asked him if he could think of one song in particular that maybe didn't get its due or that was his favorite from his entire recorded career, and he picked the same song. He picked Endless Dream.
If you listen to the work on it and the amount of work that went into it, it's an absolutely brilliant piece of music that was put together by Trevor that we all contributed to, but it took a long time to come up with that arrangement and everything. We spent a long time making that song. And so it's pretty close to a lot of the guys in Yes.
4 years between 90125 and Big Generator. You would think that with the success of this album, you guys, you know, within the next 2 years would jump back into the studio and capitalize on it.
Yeah.
But obviously you didn't have to. You guys just rode this thing for 4 years.
Yeah, well, that's the whole thing, really. That's Yes being Yes. Most have done that, but Yes don't do that. They had us work so hard on the road with that album. We toured the world quite a few times in that period of time, playing the album, and it became huge in a lot of countries. I think Owner of a Lonely Heart, I don't know the real statistics, but I think it was #1 in about 18 countries or something of that nature.
Speaking of Owner of a Lonely Heart, that song has become one of those tunes that just keeps popping up. We hear it in movies. I was at a festival once. It was a bunch of Christian bands, and in the middle of it, I don't remember the band, but in the middle of one of their songs, they went into the guitar lick for Owner of a Lonely Heart right in the middle of their song, and everybody went crazy.
Yeah, there's a lot of licks in that song that were people just remembered, and they keep playing in the middle of other things. In fact, I played that song last night. I was rehearsing for a Christmas show I'm doing this Saturday. And one of the songs we're doing is Owner of a Lonely Heart, and it's strange how that song came together because it was recorded in such a kind of strange way, but it was kind of Trevor Horn being Trevor Horn in the studio. I mean, the drums actually on that are not me playing the full kit the whole time. We started off, we put a demo kind of track down, and we had a click, we worked through click and stuff like that, and the lick was there and all of that kind of stuff, and I went to replace the drums to get really good sounds on everything, and then we even went to town on the sounds of the drums, so detailed. I was playing a full kit, and then the guy that worked for me at the time, he comes into the studio, he said, Trevor sent me, and he said, I've got to take away the cymbals. And I said, oh, okay. Okay, let me just play the whole song with just the hi-hat and toms. And then he came in, he said, I got to take your tom-toms away. And I went, oh, my God. And then 5 minutes later, he comes in, and he goes, okay, I got to take the hi-hat away. And I said, well, how am I going I'm just playing with a bass drum and a snare drum. And we built it from basically bass drum, snare drum, and we added all the other things in and constructed a whole drum kit with good sounds on every piece of the kit in the studio. And that's how we built that. The other part of the song, which was kind of an accident, was the beginning with the drum sound, which that was me playing a keyboard.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was actually a James Brown record or something of that. And I was just messing around the keyboard, and Trevor Horn happened to be there, and everybody else was on a lunch break. And I played the beginning. He said, "Keep doing that." So I did it, and then he recorded it, and then it got to the middle section, and I played the whole middle section with the brass section and everything like that. Ba, 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 ba. He said, "Do that again, that's great." And we just inserted that in the whole track, and that's how that happened. It's pretty much an accident.
Genius.
And then you have to recreate all that when you go live.
Oh, don't worry, I have a little samples now. If I do it on stage, I use Yamaha pads now, and I have the whole thing all sampled, and I can play it live just like that.
That was one of the fun things with on the Yoso tours, working with Tony, when we would go into that, and he had all of those original, all that stuff sampled into his keyboard to be able to be behind the soundboard and hear all that original stuff coming through the
page. He got the samples from me, I think.
Yeah. You had to have a lot of trust in Trevor as producer. He'd come in with ideas, and you just have to go with it.
Yeah, well, he is very creative in the studio, and it was in his heyday, really. He was really having some great success in the music business, and he was just full of off-the-wall ideas, of which the band was at the same time. So when you put these two elements together, you come up with something like 9125.
Mm-hmm. Was there a particular track on the album that for you was more challenging than the rest?
We'd rehearsed them so much, that we kind of knew what the songs were way in advance, and had rehearsed them so many times that we were all comfortable in playing everything. By the time we went in the studio, actually getting some of the parts of Shoot High and Low were difficult, because there's a lot of guitar and drum things that have to be right spot on together, and some of those things took a little while to get really tight in the studio, but we worked at it and ended up with everything you hear.
Trevor produced everything, or he's listed as producer for everything except the song Hold On, and the entire band is listed as producer on that. What was special about that?
I guess because that was a song that we did change a lot when we recorded and constructed it in the studio. So a lot of the band had a lot of input on how the direction of that song was going. There's a lot of very quirky drum patterns in there where they play them kind of almost sideways compared to the rest of the band, and playing like a double beat where it should be just a regular rhythm. That's the best way I can. My band up here in Seattle, I've got a band called White that I play with locally just for fun, and they're all great musicians, and we do that song as well, and they do it really, really good. We do that song, and we do Owner of Lonely Heart. We do quite a few. We actually did a charity event up here with an orchestra playing side 4 of Topographic Ritual, which is a heavy undertaking, especially playing it with an orchestra. And also I play with the drum corps from the Seahawks, the Blue Thunder, and I play with them occasionally at the game. And they came in, and so I had a drum corps group, about a 35-piece orchestra, and my band all playing side 4 of Ritual with all the drums going. It was huge.
Outstanding. Well, I got to tell you, my eldest son goes to Fresno State right now, but he's been on their drum line on snare drum. But he also toured with the Blue Knights, I think, was the drum corps. Mm-hmm. And that's actually one of the songs that he's heard over the years, obviously growing up as my son. But that was one of the tunes that he would play for his drum corps buddies, was Ritual.
Yeah, well,
kind of freak everybody out with
definitely drum orientated as it gets to the end of the song. Yeah, it goes into a very wild ride at the end.
You know, one of the things that I've always sort of thought about you when you joined the band. It just always seemed, a lot of different members have had a lot of different things to say about particular albums, both good and bad. Everybody's kind of talking. But it always seemed like you were like, okay, we're going to do 30-minute songs, let's do that. Okay, we're going to do shorter tunes, let's do that. Oh, okay, we're going to do commercial friendly, all right, let's do that. It's just like you were just happy to be playing.
Oh, yeah, well, I've always been a great believer in a challenge, and yes, music is always a challenge, and even to this day. I mean, for us to perform a lot of those songs on stage is kind of a challenge for everybody in the band. It's not just like a walk down the street, playing songs like Heart of the Sunrise, and, well, there's numerous songs that are just so, there's complex parts where there's 5 people involved playing a certain amount of different pieces of music that all fit together, and if one of the parts doesn't work, the whole thing falls apart, so you have to be right on it. Pretty much every night.
I had mentioned to Paul that maybe we shouldn't bring up the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but Paul decided, nope, he's going to ask you about it.
It doesn't matter. I knew about a week ago, so it's like...
Was that right?
It was just announced, I guess, last night, right?
Right.
I was actually rehearsing. Some of the guys in Heart are in the band that I'm playing this Christmas show with, and they're all friends of mine up here in Seattle. They were talking about that, and actually the guy whose party it is a very good friend of mine. He's on the advisory board for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as well, and he kind of knew, but he didn't want to tell me last night. So I said, look, I know what's going on. You don't have to keep it a secret. And anyhow... It's fine, but you would be very surprised at how many people say you guys are well overdue for being in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So who knows? And then both the guys in Heart, Mark DeRosa and Steve Flosson, said, we never got in the first year. And I think for Kiss, they've been nominated like 6 times or something before. So. They obviously, once you get nominated, though, you're on a short list kind of thing. Right. I feel bad for Deep Purple because they've been nominated a couple of times and they didn't get in as well.
And what an awesome album, that last album with Bob Ezrin producing.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite albums in the
Sure. I mean, that I thought was a definite. But you get, household names like Linda Ronstadt and, Cat Stevens obviously has been around so many years, and it's obviously very hard to pick exactly who should be in it. There's so many incredible kind of people, but Nirvana, of course, they kind of were cult-changing band around their area and from Seattle, and they changed the kind of direction of music in the industry, so they were very, so I can see why it happened like it happened. Hall & Oates, well, I guess, but because they're more of a mainstream type hit record kind of band. So I can understand that, but maybe next year or whatever.
Well, Yes is definitely, as you said, they're on the short list, and in any given year you can only put so many through. So in the next few years, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think the 6 people got through this time, and they said between 5 and 7 usually. Yeah. Of the nominees.
Oh, before I forget, I did want to ask you about this. I was looking to finally replace my copy of Ramshackled, and I got onto Amazon, and on Amazon it looks as if there's Ramshackled is. Am I mistaken? Is it going to be reissued?
Well, people have been telling me, but it's the first I'm kind of hearing about it. I mean, I've got copies of it, but they're Japanese imports. It was released in Japan, and you can still get it from there. So mine has Japanese writing on it.
Right. Yeah, I've got a handful of things like.
I heard a inkling, maybe this has been happening for a while, that they were releasing quite a few of the solo albums from different guys in the band. So, and then I'd made another album since then with the White Band that a lot of people kind of bought, that really like. People like that too. So, who knows? That one at the moment, I'm a free agent. I own the whole thing, so I could sell it to anybody or whatever.
When I was working with Tony live, one of my favorite things in Soundcheck was to watch him play that riff from Changes. Just amazing stuff there. Now you're listed as a co-writer on that?
Yeah, I actually wrote that lick, and then I worked with Trevor on some of the chords, and the initial thing for Changes came from, I guess, Trevor and myself, and then very closely followed by Chris. That's what really happened with that song. I was just playing it one day. I woke up in the middle of the night, and I went down and played it on the grand piano in the gallery in the house, and I couldn't get the thing out of my head, so I had to go down and put it on a little voice recorder kind of thing, and then I was just messing around playing it at one of the gigs, and Trevor picked up on it, and then that's how that happened.
Great progression. I had not realized everything that was going on in that progression until I stood up there and looked over his shoulder. And Tony is amazing. I mean, he could be sitting there playing that thing, and it's not sampled. He does it all live. Right. And while he's playing it, one hand's going upscale, the other hand's going downscale, and he's looking at me, talking to me about his monitors.
That was the whole idea behind it. I had the lick initially with one hand, and I went, wait a second, why don't I just do a mirror image on the other side? And I started playing both at the same time with my right and left hand, and that's where the lick came from initially.
Great lick. Okay, Alan, to wrap things up, you're currently, Yes is currently touring?
No, we're not currently touring. We're taking the holidays off, and we're going to the studio in January and February with recording a new album. And we're going into the studio with Roy Thomas Baker, so it sounds like it could be a lot of fun.
You guys are going to be heading to Canada soon, though, I guess.
Yeah, that's not till March, but we're doing a Canadian tour for about, I guess it's close to 2 weeks, and then we're doing the Cruise to the Edge tour, which we did last year. And there's about 11 or 12 bands on the boat this year. And we leave Miami and go to Mexico and British Honduras and back to Miami. It's about a 4 or 5 day stint, and it's absolutely a hell of a lot of fun.
Sounds rough.
Cool.
Outstanding. Alan, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us.
Well, thank you too, guys.
All right, we look forward to talking to you again. Take care.
See you soon. Say hi to Billy and Tony.
Will do.
All right. Bye.
Right.
Thanks for joining us. You've been listening to Icon. Find us online at wcslonline.com/icon. And like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Icon Paul Doty Roman Guzman. In Northern California, you can hear Roman on KRVR The River at 105.5 and live on the web at krvr.com. Subscribe to Icon for free on iTunes by searching Icon Doty Guzman in the iTunes Store. And listen to Roman's podcast, Roman's World, on iTunes. Search Roman's World. Paul Doty can be heard hosting Stand in the Light, the podcast by Hall of Fame Christian metal band Bloodgood. Search the iTunes Store or find more information at bloodgoodband.com. Icon is managed by K&B Entertainment. For bookings on the show, contact us at knbentertainment.com. Music on Icon is licensed under ASCAP and other entities, and licensing fees have been paid. For Icon, I'm Carly Arnold. Have an iconic week.
Hello, this is Roman.
I was supposed to call Paul Doty. Hello?
Yes. Paul Doty is refreshing his coffee. I'm Roman Guzman. We'll both be talking to you this morning.
Okay, fine.
This is Alan?
Yes.
Excellent. Here comes Paul. Paul Doty, Alan White.
Hey, Al.
How are you? What you got a bloody circa thing on for?
No, I'm Billy's sound guy. I'm the sound man for Circa right now. Okay, we can't see you, but you can see us. That's okay if that's the way you want to do it. We don't use the video, so.
Well, I'm in the bed in the nude. You don't want to see that.
It's like Alan Parsons all over again.
It was Naked Sunday.
Naked Sunday with
Naked
Alan Parsons.
Sunday,